Hi guys, it's Aegis here. So today I'm here with another D-standard deck profile, and this time I will be covering my Orfist Masques deck profile. And this is actually the time that I can actually bring this card out to play, even though I haven't get like 4 of the created cards for making it like a special ride deck, which I'm not having intention to at the start when I create that card. But yeah. So back to the deck, it is very interesting that at first I was like looking at Orfist Masques and comparing to all the new masks in the set. I was thinking Orfist Masques isn't actually that impressive because it destroys your world orders and it's hard to cover from the damage that you do to yourself, and usually with just Regis it isn't doing too much. But then when I actually playtest the deck, I see some weak point of it, but it is instead very fun deck to play with, and it's actually a very strong deck to play with a lot of things. And when we go through the deck content, I will start to explain to you what I've changed, what I feel is changing, what I feel is actually very good in the deck. And first, let's have a look of the ride deck. So some people are actually using Combine Rusher on this spot, but with my build, because I use quite a lot of Counterblast, so I actually don't want to spend the Counterblast on a Combine Rusher while I can actually do a lot of different things, or something that I put in a more higher priority. So I did test it to use Combine Rusher, but he's not the good one in this build. And using the Orfist right line, I get a Surge, and this allows me to do adjustment on attacks. Like a 15k Vanguard is different to a 10k Vanguard in guarding, and a 20k Shadow Army token will be a different number to a 15k Shadow Army token. So mainly for this few reasons, I'm actually switching back to this, and I feel a lot more comfortable off. Unless I find another different grade 2 that I find interesting to go for, then I might go for it. If not, I will stick with this right line. And with Regis, that when on place you get to place a world order cards for free from your drop or your hand is actually very important. That increases your world's orders to be set very fast, and it's free, so you don't need to pay the cost. You can get some heavy orders to be on place for free just by writing this card. Also, his second skill that allows you to generate some Shadow Army tokens without destroying the orders are great, but you don't want to stay with him for too long, because the pressure that you can apply with Orfist Masques is way bigger in different ways. So I don't plan to stand on him for too long, but I do get prepared myself sometimes that I actually need to stay on him, because there might be chances that all my masks go to damage and I never get to heal. There might be a chances that I never search a Orfist Masque, which both situation happens. Then I need to rely on Regis, and I can't simply just rely on Orfist Masque as my winning strategy, because if I don't get him, then that means I don't have a winning strategy, right? So the deck itself needs to be functioning without that, but if I got that, it will be another level. That's kind of the starting concept of this deck, and so far I think I'm doing pretty okay. And then main deck, I do have another Orfist Regis. So you can see I already like this card so much. I get it like the Signer version, I get the SP, I get a triple rare, and because I bought a starter, I do have the common version of the card, so I have all the versions. Yeah, so this, I actually slot in an extra one so that I get a chance to use his Orfist Masques skill for one more turn, or even worse than worst, I get to at least person run on this card first, so that I can keep doing my stuff and still have a functioning turn before I actually reach to my mask cards, right? And being able to remove more than once regis for picking up your order cards from the drop zone is very important, because if you don't have other pieces, sometimes that is the only thing that can save you. So having an extra copy won't hurt, and that's why it's there. But 90% of the time I'm directly going into Orfist Masques, and this will just go into the drop zone when I need to discard for something, or else just use it for person right, doesn't hurt. Okay, and then for Orfist Masques, this is again a main win con, but not the only one, but he's so great after I actually playtested. So he got a few skills. Of course you need to only ride on Orfist grade 3, so you can't just use him on your right deck to like ride over your grade 2. That's the basic rules for all the masks. And then another skill, active skill once per turn, you can from your hand, from your soul, from your drop, to remove from play a Orfist card with different names, so only your 2 registers. That by doing so you can choose one of your world cards, order cards from your drop zone and set to your order zone, so you get an extra order back for you to use by just removing this, right? So that is very important, because the next skill is where you actually need this skill for, which is a auto skill. When it attacks, you can counterblast 1, and you can send any number of your world cards from your order zone to the drop zone, and you generate that much Shadow Army token equals to the world orders that you send from your order zone to the drop zone. And if you have caught 2 or more of the Shadow Army tokens, this unit will get +1 drive. So in order to fully utilize this skill, you will always be sending 2 to your drop zone. Generate 2 plant token, 2 Shadow Army tokens. I've been playing Story Gear too long, so it just mixed my mind. But yeah, Shadow Army token, and then you get +1 drive. So the +1 drive is actually helping you a lot, and this is turning your attacks to be a 5 attack so easily. And most times you're person riding when you're using Orfist Masques, so your Shadow Army tokens will always be like a base 25, generation marker 30. With your grade 3 order, it will be also another 5s depending on how many you have. So it turns out it isn't that bad, and if you are using other cards when generating Shadow Army tokens, you can just get so many benefits through it. Next, I'm running for the Dragons from the starter, and he is actually very important, turns out to be. When my friend who kind of mains Orfist, which he actually mains Brain Gate, so he just played all the decks from Brain Gate, that he doesn't feel this card so important. But then when I actually play the card out, it's actually helping out a lot. First skill, when this card appears on regular circle, if you have the Orfist Vanguard, you can soul +1 and choose from your drop zone a world order card that is not basically an order card, world order card that is not having the same name of the world cards that you already have on your order zone, and put it there. So it couldn't get you the same thing onto your order zone, but then it can still pick you something up. And when you're using Orfist Masques to taking down your world orders, that means those orders will likely be the ones that you don't have on your order zone after using that skill. So you can rebuild those orders back, and when you put them there, you get the effects of draw 1, retire 1, generate Shadow Army token, pump up your Shadow Army token, anything, right? And he can also even help you out early stage before you go into Orfist Masques, because you will usually get to set one on grade 2, grade 3 your Regis will set one for you, this will set one for you, and if you play another one you have 4, but if you want to save the using order chance into your mask, then it will still be free. But when you get into Orfist Masques, you bind your Regis, then that will be 4 again. So that's the maths. And if you just put the mask into your drop zone, then you can actually get 5 on your first turn. So that can be very helpful and make your life a lot easier when you are looking for world orders to put into the drop zone. Also, when this card during the battle phase, it goes to the drop zone from your hand or your regal circle, you actually get to draw a card as long as you are on Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight. So it's very easy, and you can discard this card with your Regis when using your Regis skill, or you can call over with your Shadow Army tokens when you're using any of these, and it turns to be another card for you. So you can see how much value that you can gain from this card. And the Soul Blast also allows you to Soul Blast not only the Regis so that you can just bind it from the drop zone to not worry about a lot of things. Also, it can Soul Blast your mask so that you can go back to your Regis and use that mask to go into another Orfist Masque if you need to. So that's a lot of things you can do with this card, and that is why it's so great. And most importantly, it doesn't cost you any counter blast, so you can save counter blast for other users. And then I have the Mask Searcher. The Dragon Tree marker isn't actually that important to me, but being able to have a search on the mask is very important. No matter you want to ditch it for using the right cost as a PG cost, or you actually want to play the mask order to search for this or this, that's also something that is workable. So I still think this card is helpful unless you want to go for 4 mask, and then you probably can just ignore the search. That's up to you. But I think having a little attacker and a chance to gain a Dragon Chain marker to do some adjustment on attacks, turning these into 15s, personalized to 25s, is very important to me. Even though they are only costing your opponents a 15k shield, but it's still better than just a 10k draw, right? So that's where I go for. And then I'm going for this soldier, only one, because I only can find space for one, and I'm kind of debating can it be this instead. But this card actually is very helpful, especially when you don't have this card. Even though this card brings things out, but you need to think about that. We don't have ways to put world orders into our drop zone just by these so far. This can search you on the right line, but you need to ditch it, right? And then you have the order to pick it up. But this, when you appears on Vanguard Circle, if you are Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, look at top 7 cards of your deck. You can choose up to 2 world orders, put them to the drop zone, and shuffle your deck. That's already very helpful. Squeeze your deck, and sometimes when you don't have a lot of choices to just keep waiting the orders you want to see, this increases your chances. And when this unit, like after attacking the Vanguard, if you are on Abyssal Dark Knight, retire this unit from drop zone, you get a world order card back to your hand. So you actually get to get something out of it as well, even though it needs to be Abyssal Dark Knight, so you need to have 2 world orders on play on your order zone, which will not be your grade 2 turn usually. Yeah, but empties the space, so you don't need to step over with a Shadow Army token and it turns into another world card that you can just play on the next turn. That's why I think this card is still very helpful, but unfortunately I don't have a lot of space. Unless I turn all of these, two of them into masks, because I'm running 2 masks, which you will see in a bit. Then I might have another space for this card, right? And I'm using the new set double rare grid ones as well. This one is kind of functioning similar to this, but it's a guaranteed drop by counterblasting 1 when you have a Orfist Vanguard and when this card is placed to the Vanguard circle. So again, it's trying to squeeze my deck, but I don't use this skill often because counterblast 1 is actually quite heavy for this deck. This is a guaranteed search that you need to, and these ones cost you counterblast to just do your winning plays, so you don't have a lot of counterblast to spare. But when you are just lacking in specific world cards, this can help you out. And more importantly, when this card is basically when your Vanguard is a Orfist Masques and retire from Vanguard circle this card, you can call a Shadow Army token to your Vanguard circle. So you can generate a lot of Shadow Army tokens without you giving a lot through other skills. For example, with your Orfist Masques, that you can only call to Riga circles with unit, right? So by doing that, you can actually just step on this so that you can bring something to an empty circle that, for example, these leaves, you can do that. Or even when those have units, you can just, by ditching just 2 to get 3 Shadow Army tokens, which those Shadow Army tokens will likely get buffed, or even not buffed. It's still a, like 2 Shadow Army tokens become a 30k line base. It's still better than just a 15k. And also you're allowed to just go with a side with boost, because you know this will be gone and will still turn you into another Shadow Army token that you are not going to waste. So very important, at least to me. But if you don't like it, you probably will be using like the personalized support. So buff 1 when discard from hand during the right phase, go to the bottom and draw 1, that thing. I don't have that card for because it's too expensive and I'm not a Vanguard main, so I don't get to have that card. So I'm using what I have, and this is just what I am happy to go for. And then PGs, I'm just following what I have again. So it's the Elemental Shield, Blitz Order, and then 3 normal PGs. If you are buying the starter, you should have this set already, so it shouldn't hurt you at all. You don't need to actually find this out, but if you really don't have that, then just use a normal PG. It shouldn't be that much of a big deal for this deck because you're drawing a lot of cards. And then let's look into the world orders that I'm using. Now, the buff, because the more buff the better, but at the same time, because you are also destroying your world orders, so they might not be able to stay very long, especially when you're in the long game, when you have nothing to pick something up. Users can only play 1 by turn, then you might have to destroy 1 to 2 of these, but usually have 1 stay on the field, and that can do the magic already. But if you get more, that means your board is way stronger and your opponents just need to drop a lot of cards to guard, or they can't even guard. Okay, and then 2 of the Shadow Army generator, because we do have a lot of ways to generate Shadow Army tokens, but this card is good for you to just kind of fight back when you're in grade 2. That your grade 1, you search this, you take 1 hit, you're going to your grade 2, counter blast 1, call a Shadow Army token out and do a big attack. That's usually what it does. so I'm not using a lot, because again I have so many ways to regenerate Shadow Army tokens or generating Shadow Army tokens, so I don't actually need that much. And then 3 of the draw one, because having more draws is actually very helpful, and this is a card that you will be likely to play from your hand usually, because it only costs you a Soul Blast 1 to draw a card. That is great, and whenever you pull them back up with all those skills you have, you can draw one again, so just great. And you do need to Soul Blast your Orfist Masques, you need to Soul Blast your mask, right? So that is actually helpful, extremely helpful, to be honest. And then I'm running 2 of the mask. 2 I think is okay, unless you are not playing the Searcher. As I said before, then you probably will turn 2 of these into 2 more masks, 1 of these to the grade 2. Then I think you're still all set, and if you want to change these to the personalized support, you can do that. That probably will be another way that I'm going for with the deck, but without the personalized support, I'm choosing this. And to have some early pushing with more grade 2s, because you can see these are all the grade 2s that I'm playing. This I won't be playing because I need to go into Orfist to actually make his skill works, so I won't be playing him early. This I can play this early. This I can play this early as well, because as long as I have 1 World Orders, I can already look at top 7 and do something. Then even if I can't pop him later, he just get retired, that's fine. The main reason I have him is to look at 7 and find 2 orders. And then we are going to triggers immediately. Brain KOT, just the OP one, so we just enjoy that double of everything. Soaring crit, we do Soul Blast quite a lot, but because I do draw too much, so usually I get to don't need to use it as a soul charge, but as a shield, so that I can survive. And then more crits into a 8 crit. And even though I do draw a lot of cards, I am still using draws. And this one is a starter. If you do have the 10k shield draw, you can use that. I don't have that, so I'm not using that. And then 4 heals from a starter as well. And if you want to change 1 to 2 into effect heals, depending on the meta you are facing, feel free to do that. But so far, with these draws, with the triple drive, with these draws, I actually have a lot of cards in my hand unless I get heavily rushed, which when things go into like 1 to 2 attack in early games, I can usually keep like 9 to 10 cards in my hand after I go into Orfist Masques and do a lot of different draws and such, and that will allow me to survive a turn. And the next turn I go into Orfist Masques again. I probably will bring 1 of the draw card back into my hands to the order zone, so I can draw another card, and then use triple drive to draw any more cards. So you just keep rotating, and eventually you should be able to win. One thing that when you're playing Orfist, that is, you usually end up with Shadow Army tokens in your front row, so you don't get to have the intercepts. But what is good about this kind of board is that you don't need to care about if your Shadow Army tokens are dying, because if they're gone, they're just completely disappeared. It's not something that you completely kind of lost, because you can have a lot of ways to just generate them back. So don't need to worry about that too much, and just focus on the guarding. Turn this into 10k draws if you can. Then just play carefully. Make sure you read your cards. Do it bit by bit. You should have a lot of cards in your hand to survive your turn, and then do some big attacks during your turn. And there are 5 attacks. Another thing you probably need to think about is, do you want to boost for your first to attack your rearguards? Usually with the great ones, sure, because you will turn into another Shadow Army token back. That's great. If not, then you might consider, do you want to have a high power push for damage before your Vanguard attacks? Or you actually want to wait for your Vanguard attacks and do a even bigger push when you have a buff the Shadow Army token that is being called to the front row, and boost them with the Shadow Army tokens that probably not getting buff, and do another power play. Yeah, so up to you. There are many ways to play with this deck. You just need to get used to it, and then you're fine. Most of the orders are already like included in the starter set. What you need extra is mask, depending on how you want your playstyle is. This is from the new set. This is from the new set. This is from the new set, and that's all. That's basic, and the sewing crate, of course. So you don't need, and maybe one extra of this, maybe. So this actually should also be included in the starter, so you shouldn't be requiring to get a lot of cards. 1, 2, 3. If you really can't find the sewing crate, I think that's fine. You can just use normal crate as well. So more important is 1, 2, 3 from the new set, and yeah, that's basically it. And it's quite easy to actually get the deck up and running. So if you are just looking for a quick change from the starter into a functioning Orfist Masques build, then I think this will be good enough for you. If you want to turn it into something even more crazier, then you can look into the personalized support, as I keep saying. Maybe use more of this, then that's probably it. You won't be changing a lot of content. I think the deck is already quite structured without you needing to do a lot of different changes to make it good. After that, you just get experience, know the deck well, and you'll be good. Yeah, so that's it for this deck profile. Like and share with your friends. Comment down below if you have any questions. If you tried something else, feel free to let me know. Subscribe to my channel for more deck profiles, deck fights, unboxing videos, and I will see you guys in the next video. Yeah, signing off.